So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector. And as you can see, I'm on the couch. And I'm joined today on the couch by the band Sons of Venus, who just released a record uh, named Crisis to Crisis, and it came out on June the 9th. So, we're here to talk all about it. So, first of all, guys, how are you tonight?
Hi, Hector. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Uh, so
So we're
yeah,
doing fine. We're doing fine.
I'm doing
We are
good.
in I don't know, right now in all different places, but
Thank
we're all
you
good.
together.
so much for having us. We really appreciate it. So it's really great to be able to talk to you. Thank you. Thank you for your
Oh
inquiry.
yeah. Sorry, I had a hectic week last week, so we had to reschedule this, but finally I had some time. So first of all, tell us your name and what you do in the band.
Who goes first? I'll go first. Hi, I'm
Yeah, you
Son.
do.
Yes.
How you doing? I guess you could say it's hard to explain how all our roles change all the time. We all kind of do a little bit of everything, but I guess I would be the conceptual director and I play the guitar and sing.
And I think you also play keyboards, right?
I play keyboards too, yes. So I am a multi-instrumentalist, though all of us are, but in Sons of Venus, in this particular record for Crisis to Crisis, I got to multimedia a little bit more than the other two did. So I'm a little bit more all over the place on this particular record, where Igor was primarily bass and Ruslan was primarily drums. But in all our records, we all do a little bit of everything. All of us do certain level. It was just the circumstances of this record that turned out this way.
Awesome. So Igor, obviously you're the bass player.
I'm still the bass player. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm
So,
still a drummer.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Igor, don't say it like that. You say it so sad. I like I'm the bass player. Like,
no,
like
no.
people care about the bass player.
See, that's why I think people don't, That's I'm sorry, but I mean, even though I love bass players, but I can name a lot of them. I have like lots
Uh,
of guitar. I have lots of guitar players, singers, favorite drummers. But
uh,
everybody keeps forgetting about the bass. But
It's
yeah, I
important.
mean, Igor is the most important bass player in our company.
I grew up on James Brown, and the whole thing about James Brown is the bass. James Brown really invented that. And that's something that we continue with Sons of Venus. We make sure that the bass is in your face. So
Yes,
it's
yes,
so
imp
yes.
it's important. So yeah, this album. So I'm gonna show the artwork for the album that came out a few weeks ago, so people can visualize it. So it's called Crisis to Crisis. So it's 6 songs, and some of the songs are longer than others. And what I can tell, it's an album that there's like a concept, like a theme running through it. And who can't relate with the last years that we have? Because we literally been from crisis to crisis. So it's very relatable. So when you guys were working on this album, like what inspired the themes that you touch on this record?
well, I think that one's probably for me because I did jumpstart this record the other ones kind of happened in real time. This I kind of took an initiative a little bit, but we were under dire circumstances. Of course, we were separated. COVID was full on. We were all dealing. So like it's very easy to look at the record as obviously, like you said, the past year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, it's been crisis to crisis for everybody. But the three of us personally all had massive life changes, massive life things, and I don't think I would really be able to handle it and go through it if I didn't have these two individuals in my life. These two brought me out, in many, many ways. If they weren't there, I don't think I could get through my crisis to crisis. So on one level, there's the obvious everyman story that's in the record, but it's also a very personal story between the three of us. We shared everything during this time. We were open with everything during this time. Even though the world, everything crumbled around us, the three of us stayed together, and it saved my life and my soul in many ways, and that's what the record is. It's not just crisis to crisis as a statement. It's crisis to crisis to show like I can handle it if I have the people and I have the support and I have the people with me. I can get through the crisis to crisis.
You know, that's
I mean,
important because we can get everything. We need people to get through things like I don't think any human being should like handle anything alone. I think that when we have support systems, we do better.
of course, of course.
Well, I mean, I think that I mean with this band, or I think at best, you know, bands are like I mean, we're family. Bands are families. We share, you know. I mean, what could be more intimate than music? In a way that it's when we're fragile and open, in a sense.
No,
Um,
yeah, I agree, and there's a lot of like psychedelic like rock in this album, but it's also an album that has some like mellower parts to it. Uh, like musically, how would you describe the sound of Sons of Venus to someone that hasn't heard the band?
Well, it's like a Venus sound. It also sounds of Venus.
I, I, I,
I
I,
like that. That's very true.
I think if you hear something and you think you get it, listen to it again and you'll get something else. I mean, I think that it's a multi-dimensional creation. There's every time I listen to this, there's something else that pops out, and there's like it's like there's a world inside these songs, and I'm changing the radio waves to what I want to hear, what I want to listen to, and that's what I mean. I think ideally that's what jumps at me in music at best. You know, I mean, you're lucky if you get that one dimension right and you can hit an emotional note on that one dimension. But if you have like 10 dimensions, every time you listen to it, you know, you get something else for yourself. And I think especially, you know, musically, this album, it does that. Every time I listen to it, there's something different that comes, you know, my mind goes like I'm on a mushroom trip kind of. When you're trying to concentrate and you're going and you're attaching yourself to a certain sound or a note, and then you listen to it again and you attach yourself to a completely different sound, and a different idea pops out. So it's much more, I think it's much deeper and much more multi-dimensional than the name itself. I mean, just musically, there are like many melodies that are going on simultaneously at the same time. So that's I think I maybe moved away from the question, but
But no, you have actually you answered the question
Yeah,
how to describe the sound.
yeah,
I think you.
there's a complexity that's there. You know, for me, what I loved about the 60s and the 70s, and then a little bit of the 80s, is that Igor's hitting on something. It's like the product that you would buy when you bought a vinyl record and it had the album cover and the mysteries that needed to be unfolded when you got that album. It was like an archaeological dig. You were going into your soul, and every time you listened to it, you got deeper and deeper into your soul. And with now the digital world where everything is quantized, this record isn't quantized. Where everything is harmonized, this record isn't harmonized. Everything is coming from a plugin. There's no plugins on this record. Everything is all the effects, everything is done in real time. It's just microphones. That's all it is. So, you know, that being said, Igor's hitting on something. There's a dimensional intricacy that's there by the way the record was put together, that when you play it each time, it's like reading a book. You're getting further and further into the plot. Every time you put it on, you're getting deeper into the narrative, deeper into the story. as opposed to saying, oh, this makes me dance, and that's the end of it. You know what I mean? It's music to take you deeper into yourself, and for your imagination to picture things like a book would make you picture things.
Yeah.
At least,
Or like when you first listen to or re-listen to Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
you go on a trip. Yeah, because I was listening to it. It has a little bit of Pink Floyd vibes to it in the like in the flow of the album.
Without a doubt, yes. Without a doubt, yes. Me myself. I mean, it's one thing all of us share, but like me myself, Pink Floyd is my DNA. It literally is in my DNA because as I was born, Pink Floyd was born, literally, and I have older brothers in my family, so you know, when metal came out, I heard metal as a new album from Pink Floyd, and then and that's before Dark Side of the Moon, right? And then
Yeah.
Dark Side of the Moon came out, and to me it was like, oh my God, you can shift your entire like that's what it taught me. Metal came out, and I listened to that as a with virgin ears, like being a young child listening to Pink Floyd metal with virgin ears and just going, oh my God, anything is possible in the universe. And then Dark Side of the Moon coming out and going, that's proof right there that, you know, musicians can do anything, they can create anything. And all of us, when that record came out, all of us heard that. We heard it on day one. It wasn't like 20 years, 30 years later, we all went like, wow, that's a classic record. No, we heard the first time it spun Dark Side of the Moon, we all knew it was a classic record. And that's what we're hoping with, you know, Crisis to Crisis. And it seems that way because people are writing us back saying this has that classic sound. It's going back to the roots. It's going back to that time period of when musicians were the producers, musicians were the composers, musicians were the masterers. The musicians saw their music from beginning, middle, and to end, and that's what they put out, and the business supported them putting that out.
Yeah, no auto tune.
That was a time. Yes, yeah, with that exactly, exactly.
Now, like everyone sounds like machines or something like that, and you're like, oh my God.
Exactly.
Like it sounds so.
So, but back then, even if you write the bad song, you still gotta be a great musician.
That is good. Now, now with the like every like technology, like there's good things about technology, but there's obviously things that people rely on a crutch. Like people, like for example, I talked about this in an interview, like AI, like people like hearing like an AI, like other artists. I'm like, it's not gonna be the same. I'm like a machine cannot capture they like they can like I think they did it with a Nirvana song, and I heard it and I said, I'm sorry, this isn't Nirvana. It like you can feed the computer stuff, but it's not gonna have like the same soul that a human being put
No,
into.
of course not. But I think it's whatever is going on, it's going on not for us, not for people of knowledge of music and stuff. Whatever is going on for the young generation, the future generation, which never born, and when they're gonna born, they're gonna give them AI, and they're gonna say this is the music, and it's like okay, and they didn't know any better,
and
unless
that's
they're
why
going.
You know that's an interesting point. I've I haven't been in bands for like over 15 years, and we opened a bunch of musicians, and I've met people who write by formula, like a form, I mean, pop or whatever it is, and we've even done it like with our past band, like we try to get that kind of formula. So I mean that's kind of there are sites you can go on to, if you want to write a pop song, and you look on a website which word is used in most pop songs today, right? So it's like, let's say it's love or whatever, right? and so you use a combination of words that are used in pop songs, and you make something. So that's kind of a similar approach. But I mean, when you talk about the true source that music is able to be, not always is, I'm not sure that AI would be able to manage that. But
Yeah.
but you know, there are formulas to writing songs.
No,
And
no, you're right, but I'm saying that they won't know any better, you know, the next generation. Like these days, like they don't know what the cassette is, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
did you,
actually,
It's
a lot of
like
bands are putting stuff on
yeah,
cassette again, and obviously
yeah,
there's been the vinyl resurgence. But
yeah.
yeah, saying what Igor says, like yeah, about the AI, yeah, I agree with him. Plus, Igor, no AI can capture your hairdo. You have that hairdo that it's always stays intact. Because
Thank you.
that's how I recognize you. I saw the hairdo.
You know,
I'm like, I know Igor. I've talked with Igor before.
Uh,
Hector, before I speak to you, I do my hair for 30 minutes, man.
uh
Yeah, you should coin it. It's the Igor look.
but
Like
I heard the news that Paul McCartney is gonna release songs soon with the AI and you know
I
like
think they did some. I read something that they did like a Beatles song or
yeah, the
something.
Beatles song,
I haven't
Beatles
I haven't
song
listened to
with a
it.
John Lennon voice, something
Oh,
weird and
Jesus.
strange. So
Oh, Jesus.
I just think it's wrong. I just think like just let it be the way it was. Like oh man, I just used a Beatles song without knowing. Let it be.
just
Just let it
yeah,
be,
just let it
Hector,
be,
you're
just
speaking
let it be on
words of
Strawberry
wisdom,
Fields.
man.
don't do it. So yeah,
I find it interesting where young people today will go to software and hit a bunch of buttons and try to get, because now a big thing I see is like getting James Hetfield from Metallica singing Black Sabbath songs. That seems to be a big thing that's happening in AI. Don't ask me why, but that's what I noticed a lot.
the
Mhm.
question is, how many times does that AI Headfield say, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. But it's what amazes me is that young people are going for that, where for our generation, even if you didn't know anything and you were punked out and you didn't know shit, you would get a guitar, you would get an amplifier, and you'd get that group together and you'd go out and you'd expose the raw nerve of that one chord, the only chord you could play, and you would
Very
come
punk
together.
rock.
Yes, so that amazes me that young people don't go that way now, but we are. That's because that's crisis to crisis. A lot of times that's what it is. It's that one chord punk rock that's just going hitting you over and over and over because that's what we're doing. We're getting together and hitting that. And it's interesting now that software, like it used to be hard rock, now it's software. So
Yeah, plus musicians that been around for a while, like you can see how it went from in like when they recorded on tape, then it went to digital and CDs and everything. So how it's being a cycle and when streaming started. So, but yeah, I just can't see people who really love music
yeah,
rather listen to a machine feed you what it thinks that a song should sound like.
yeah. Well,
But
you
yeah,
always, I mean, it's interesting. Like, you have people that go to Britney Spears and all this other pop stuff that's out there, a million things that come by in every generation. So what's the difference? That's kind of AI too, right? I would say Britney Spears is kind of artificial intelligence. It was bringing a bunch of producers together, right? To create the tracks, a bunch of composers together to write the track. They got the girl who looks the right way that people want you to look to fulfill that position. So in a way, it's very similar to how AI is working, right? It's just going to make it easier and easier, which is really what they're looking for, right? And but we're not that. it's interesting because when we first, to be honest with you, Hector, when we first put the record out, we didn't necessarily know where it stood. We didn't know it stood as a rock record, a alternative record, as an ambient record, as a post rock record or a post noise record. The three of us had no idea really how to present it. So we put it out there. When it first went out, the people who were looking for the 3-minute songs were just like, yeah, it sounds cool. We like the sound. We love the production. The art, it sounds great, but it just goes on way too long. So there's nothing we can do about it. And we just got pushed to the wayside over and over and over until finally we found somebody found us that doesn't care about the 3-minute songs. They like the long songs, which is the progressive arts,
yeah.
A little bit more of the psychedelic world. Once it fell in there by accident, they accepted the time on the songs, and they loved it. So they are the ones who took us in. It was really the progressive people, the psychedelic people who accepted us for what it was that we were doing. But that's not necessarily what we set out to do. It's just that's the world that took us in. Thank God, because they're the ones getting it. But we're from that same street kind of punk rock, just trying to express ourselves, what's going on in our lives. It's almost blues at the end of the day, what we're doing. And thank God for the progressiveness of experimental music, that these people out there are like, we don't care if the track's 8 minutes long. We're going to hang with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they don't care about the formula. We're breaking the formula, and they're like, bring it on. Come to our side. We're ready to take anything that you want to do. So we're really grateful for the progressive community and the art rock community and post rock community, big time, for recognizing what it is that we're doing. But we're just rockers,
Yeah.
At the end of
But right now, they have a name for that. When someone can't explain what the music is, they say it's avant-garde.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what they say. It's like, because like every year I feel that they're just now inventing shit with genres of metal. So like this is pure progressive Scandinavian true belt metal something. I'm like, what? Yeah, so it's like there's sometimes it's too much. But yeah, the progress, yeah, I've always and progressive the when I was listening to this album, it had progressive elements, alternative elements, some pop elements, but good pop elements, because there's people that think pop and it's bad. No, there's good pop music too. Uh for example, I love the song that I think you put out last as a single, When Love Turns. That's a great song, and it has a great like beautiful guitar solo like in the middle of the song.
Oh yeah,
Uh
I love the solo too.
yeah.
John, that's
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that song. What's that song about? I'm guessing it's about love, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, that's I think all three of us can speak about it, because some of the people that were very close in our lives before this whole pandemic craziness, we all went through a thing where everything turned, right? So for me, I was trying to put that in perspective of all of it under the guise of love. And everything turned, everything that was going left went right, everything that was going up went down. It was like everything flipped. So I think that was the original premise of it. But I think Igor and Ruslan can probably speak on different levels of it too, because it turned into a video then, and then we all got deeper into it emotionally as it grew as an art form.
Yeah. What can you say about the song, Ruslan?
oh, well, that's a great song, and as John he's a really great. Besides that he's a great musician, he's a very great poet, and he knows how to put the lyrics together. So it's like they just right on point. And I think the name speaks for itself. It's so deep when
Yeah.
love turns, and because That's the sadness. And I think this is, like we always want to keep something like forever, but it takes time and experience to understand that nothing is forever, nothing's gonna be the same, and that you have to admit that at some point, whatever good stuff you have in your life is gonna be against you. But it's not them, it's you, because you growing up, and every year you become a different person. I mean, and you have like it's all about you. I mean, and that's the way that the song speaks to me. It's just like for example, enemy. It can be some unknown person. Enemy is usually the person who traditionally, originally, the meaning of enemy, or the person who you have a problem with, or all your enemies. It's actually your closest friends. I mean, basically speaking, not talking particularly about some people, but if you think about it,
Yeah, interesting.
so yeah, that's very deep, and that's why I love the song. It's talking to me because last few years with all this crisis and two crises, and we're going to another crisis, and after another crisis, we're going to another crisis. And
yeah.
the Russian matryoshka.
Speaking of Russian crisis.
So yeah, that's and as long you understand this, and as long you aware of this, your life become I think brighter with all in it. It doesn't matter it's gonna turn or not turn, but as long as you're aware of this, and I think it's important that the song exists so people might think about it, or maybe it's gonna speak for some people too.
Yeah,
Because we experience life, and people have lots of questions since they've been born, and we're here to help them understand this life.
or get more confused.
Or get more confused.
which is ultimately the same thing.
But that's why you have Hector, so you can connect us to the people. If they have any questions, they can talk to us.
I think it's like, if we're speaking about the record, I think it's a very important song.
We are speaking about the record, man.
Dude.
Just kidding. Got you.
No, I think it's an important song for me, because I mean, and Jung is the lyric writer and the songwriter for this record particularly. I think this is the one song that kind of, there's songs that talk about the world, philosophy, and various things, and then there's this song that sounds kind of personal. And I think for me, it makes the whole record personal. It connects all the other songs. I think it's a very important song on the record, for me at least. Maybe I'm
definitely.
I'm misreading something, but for me, it's an important song because it makes the whole, everything. It makes everything else kind of whole. And I do. You mentioned the video. The video was done by Katya Mizyantseva. So just to mention her, because I think we all agree she did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And
I'll post the link somewhere so people can watch the video.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
it was
a great song. Yeah.
She's an architect by profession, and she does this thing of like these amazing animations in her spare time, and I think she was doing it at night, and it was a collaboration really, because we didn't tell her. I mean, it was Ruslan that was talking to her, but I don't believe we told her which song we wanted. We didn't tell her.
No, she write it. She write it out. She offered it, and we just gave her album, and she's like, you pick the song which you like.
Yeah,
because
that's cool. Yeah, no, there's different songs, like the album opener, That Language is good. the album closer, The Art if Coincidence. I like the title of that. It's kind of a like a tongue twister. The Art if Coincidence. What is that one about?
Well, this is something I have to talk to the boys about because we had a little problem registering some of the songs in some places, so everyone will hear it for the first time. So that's a misspelling. Igor and Ruslan, they posted The Art if Coincidence. It's supposed to be of The Art of Coincidence. Look on Spotify, Igor.
I
We
was
missed
like,
that.
I wanted to ask you that because The Art if
Holy fuck.
Coincidence
This
didn't
is
make
why-
sense.
What?
Yeah, so
When?
That's not us though. That's the label.
it's a problem because it's been published this way. This is why I'm having a little problem with our crew over there because I found it out. I knew something wasn't correct. So this is not lining up. This is something we could talk about later, but we have to fix it. The title is The Art of Coincidence.
Oh my
Yeah, because
goodness.
I was like being a grammar police. I'm like the art if coincidence. Like I'm like that makes no sense. So I have to ask them
the
about
record
that title.
company made a mistake. They made a mistake. Luckily, there's a lot of old albums that I love that also had weird little mistakes like that. So I'm okay with it.
That will be on Wikipedia, and people that will be like a question on Jeopardy or something. Like what was the mistake on the Crisis to Crisis album?
We have
So this is the part where we are confused people. Yeah.
I had no idea that I didn't even see.
Yeah.
I was listening.
I didn't know too.
I
Yeah.
listen to it on Spotify all the time, but I didn't even. I guess I don't look at the screen or whatever.
if you follow some of the thread that's going on with the label,
Yeah.
what I'm writing,
I'm gonna,
something's not working correctly, and that's because I was writing of, and it's not. It's if, and nobody was catching it. Now I caught it. Yeah, so you'll see it in the thread.
But
And that's
sometimes error pass like because there's a vinyl I have that they said that some songs were on one side and they were actually on the other side.
so it happens.
Yeah.
A lot of famous records that you'd be amazed. I think even Dark Side of the Moon has some kind of thing that's wrong on it. The original one where they changed it. So that happens. We have to get it fixed. The difference is in the digital world, it really has an effect on the artist, unfortunately.
yeah.
Because the way everything comes back to us is digitally. And now when you release a single, it's only the single that's affected. But unfortunately, since we released the whole album, the whole fucking album is affected. So we got to get it fixed.
we can talk about this later, but I mean, just touching on the subject, I think
it's a good thing. I pay attention to details.
Letting Hector, you're in our personal life.
Thank you. I didn't notice. I had no idea.
Igor was too busy doing his hair for 30 minutes to notice that.
Hey man, don't diss the hair.
So yeah,
no, I think kind of one of the things it's weird. I think part of growing up and becoming, I guess, more mature. I don't want to say an adult, but is realizing that everything has human error. Like any organization you have, anybody you try, everything fucks up. And that that's just another example of because we didn't do.
It's a nice Easter egg. The album right now is I know it's out digitally, but it's not yet out physically, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true in a way, and we're debating. You bring up a great question. A lot of what happens is you release a record, and you really kind of wait to see what happens. Because you could release it and you believe in it and you love it, and the audience just isn't there. We're really lucky that there seems to be a very common thread that's going on when people are hearing it. People are coming back with a universal response. This is the first time for us. We're getting a real universal response from it, where people who like all kinds of music, all different things, are really connecting to what it is that we hope they would connect to. So you bring up a good question. Do we put it now in a physical form? So that's something we're thinking about, we're discussing. something it's out there. So as of this moment, no, but it would be interesting to hear back from folks to think where they actually want a physical experience of the record.
Yeah, and I'm thinking since the record has that like psychedelic prog rock, old school, that sounds great on vinyl. So if there's right. and prog, people who love prog like to buy shit. They like to own it physically. Like it's the type of it's a type of music that the really fans of prog rock want to have it physically, because it's music that is meant to be like played, because there's many layers to it.
Well, I still have a turntable, so I still listen to vinyl, so I know what you mean.
Oh, I have one as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ruslan has a turntable. I don't, but I think that there is something to be said that when you have that something physical in your hands, that it kind, we live in a weird time. We have so many things to entertain us that we almost pay extra to be hungry. There's something that to be said about people going back to a more difficult format of listening to music, of there's things to be, so there's so much information. You almost want to pay extra to block it out, and there's somebody to curate it for you in a way. And I mean, not just with music, with everything else as well.
Made me think of like the value of hunger, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that was I think when you toured Cuba, right?
I did twice.
Yeah, twice. So not with us, just to be clear, since we're in here. And we toured. There's something. I mean, me and Ruslan, we not with Sons of Venus, but like with Mad Mag. But there's something to be had about a hunger that, and in Russia, that, or Eastern Europe, that hunger is still, it's kind of like it's been passed down a generation. Like that hunger for music. It's not that people can't get music, but it's kind of like, it's like you're still kind of in the Soviet Union, but you're not. that sort of, there's still that hunger. And I mean, that hunger makes music have more value to people. And that's it's an amazing thing, really.
You're hitting on something there. You're hitting on something I've been asking a question for a while, but you're really hitting right on it. It's what I would attach that to is audiences. Like, so if I'm playing a gig or I'm out on the stage and I'm sensing something is missing, and I kind of am, and I would say that's you're calling it, Igor. That's what I'm missing, is a little bit of that hunger. That's really poignant, man, because I'll give you an example. So I can tell people are liking the music. I can tell they're digging it when I'm on the stage. I can tell. But they're full. They're already satiated. They already ate a great meal. They already have everything, so they're just sitting there, and it just has to hit them without really entering them, because they're already full. So there's something about being in that environment where you're more hungry for it. So you ingest it, you take it more in, you take it deeply in.
And just to continue that point, I mean, with the COVID pandemic and all of this stuff that's going on around it, I think, and I hope it changed the human in a positive way. If we're speaking about positive, that at least in the US, I feel that it might have changed the human perception, like to be a little bit more hungry, to kind of value what you might lose in a second. And I don't mean by the COVID pandemic, but the situation that we all ended up in because of whatever it was. I mean, I'm not speaking, politics or who's who, but I mean that human perception, that need for music. Because I mean, it's a need.
But you're also talking about the need to create it too, right? It's not just
absolutely, yeah.
And for different types of music, not I think there's room for all types of music.
Absolutely.
Like if you're sad, if you want to listen to some dance music because you just want to like shut off the problems, that's good too. Just as long as you enjoy it. So yeah, it's been great talking to you guys about the album. So people, you can buy it online, maybe in Bandcamp and those sites digitally, so you can help the band out. And also, you can follow them on the socials if you want. So I'm going to show the artwork again. So here's the artwork for Crisis to Crisis. Who I didn't ask the other time. Who worked on the cover for this?
That's, I believe, for you guys.
The cover of that's did our friend Alice Franklin, and
Nice.
yes, but again there was our idea, actually John's particular. So he has this vision, and she did the amazing job.
Yeah. No, it definitely shows what the album is about, and there's a lots of themes that I think are relatable to different type of people, and it ties well. So before I let you guys go, like I usually like to ask questions like what is there, like what new music or what are you currently spinning or into? And we can start with Igor, and we can end with John.
Oh. Oh, you want to start with me? Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
Igor.
that's what he said. That's what he said.
Yeah. What am I spinning? I'm spinning this album a lot. Uh, I'm really into this band now, Campo Chimbita. It's a Colombian, I think it's New Yorkers, but like a lot of it, I don't know. I'm kind of really into that. The Doors I've been listening to lately. That has been on my mind. Revolver by the Beatles. That has been on my mind lately. But I mean, it changes every couple of months. I think it every couple of months, I go nuts for like brass bands or something, and then all I listen to is brass bands for like 3 months or something, and then so that's what it is right now. So
Cool. What about you, Roslan?
Uh, I'm listening to Mars Volta. Really like the last album, and I actually bought tickets. I'm going to see them here
shit.
in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
When?
Yeah, actually, the singer
September.
from Mars Volta is Puerto Rican.
Oh yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Beautiful.
Is he
Yeah.
Puerto Rican? I thought it was, no, I mean, no offense, but I
The
thought
band started in Texas, but he's from Puerto Rico. And in
I
the
see.
last videos, they have the last album, they use a lot of the Puerto Rican flag, and the type of music that they're playing on the last album is typical music from Puerto Rico.
I see.
Yeah. So
All
yeah,
right.
it's
No, I really love it. That's
some
so
people don't
fresh.
understand it.
It's
I heard it. I'm like, I know what that music is. That's typical music uh from Puerto Rico with the tambourines and everything. So yeah,
mm-hmm.
like he embraced a lot of his roots on
And
the last
actually,
Mars Volta
yes,
album.
and that's probably why they did this second version of this album when they released this year, which is
Yeah, that
totally
it's more,
acoustic.
I think, acoustic. Yeah.
Yes, so they did the acoustic version of the album, but I'm listening both and I love it. And
they released an acoustic version right now?
yes, it's already out. Yeah,
Yeah.
like in April.
I don't know.
That's the album of the year of last year for me, which I can listen on repeat. But also the classic Pink Floyd, Beatles lately I've been listening to, and Nothing But Thieves, if you know this band.
I've heard
I
that band.
really,
Yeah.
I really like the sound and something powerful. I mean, they're like little kids of Muse.
Okay.
You know, if a Radiohead and Muse had a baby, that was Nothing But Thieves.
That explanation makes sense. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. But usually I just put the shuffle on my iTunes, and there's like 5 or 10,000 songs, and sometimes it goes song after the song, such a bright playlist. And I'm like, oh, it's so good. Or sometimes it just plays only B-sides, and then you just can't find the right song.
Nice. What about you, John?
Oh my God, I think I have a list here.
Oh my God, you're prepared.
Oh yeah.
So what's been interesting is I'm really bad. I don't really listen a lot to music. I don't really listen to a lot of music. But I do listen to a lot of music. I have to listen to a lot of music because I'm always working. I'm a sound designer. I'm
Yeah.
always Yeah, so I always have to listen to content that I'm either creating or programming. Um, I don't have a lot of time for casual listening. Listening has to be like involved in my life. What I'm listening to has to have a choice at the end of it, you know. So that's what usually happens to me. And then what's been happening lately is because when I was working on I wasn't really listening to music. But now that the record is out, we're getting a lot of feedback from people of what they think the record kind of reminisces. And they've all been right. Like everybody's been nailing it right onto it. But I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize where it was coming from. I feel like people listening to it got it better than I did. So some of them would be like The Who. So people have really been calling on The Who. And when I thought about that, that makes sense, right? Because where do you throw The Who? You don't throw them in a progressive rock band, but they're totally a progressive rock band. They do concept
Yeah.
records. They got all that stuff. But usually The Who is The Who. They stand on their own. Pop, they could totally be a pop band, right? It's full on pop band. But yet again, The Who, you don't necessarily think of them that. And as far as like improvisational jam band, totally, The Who could totally be the biggest jam band there ever was. And then just sheer power of a heavy rock, almost metal, thrunching, destroying band. They have all these elements. So I do agree with that. A lot of people say we hear The Who in this album. I'm like, wow, that's my favorite compliment ever, because I wasn't thinking of that at all. But when I go back and listen to it now, I would say for sure. And then a bunch of others would be like
Genesis too.
yeah, Genesis. So a lot of people have been saying Genesis, and I'm like, you know, Peter Gabriel Genesis is almost like forgotten in a weird way. You know, like Genesis became something else, and then Peter Gabriel became something else. But Peter Gabriel Genesis, when I go back and listen to this record, I'm like, holy fuck, this is totally what this is. So I've been going back and listening to some of that and just going, oh my God, that early Genesis stuff is just, I've waited too long to go back and listen to it. So I've been listening to that. What else? What else is on here that's interesting? Let me see, what do I have here? Oh, so another thing I guess would be like a lot of grunge up. And I'm not really a grunge guy, but I'm big
Okay.
free grunge, which is alternative, which was the Jane's Addiction. I was big on Red Hot Chili Peppers. I was big on Faith No More. I was big on um, uh, uh, Fishbone. A lot of these bands in between classic rock, alternative rock, and then what became grunge rock. That little California area, that moment, which I think the Doors also had a big influence on too. That's a big thing that I feel people are calling out, especially if people can't. There's a lot of younger people who don't go far back as the Who. They don't know who the fuck the Who are. They listen
Yeah,
to
they'll
that.
be like, who?
Yeah, exactly. That's so
Who?
awesome. So, but where they'll go back to is like grunge. That's the closest to classic music that they can get to. So I feel like that's the Jane's Addiction and the Red Hot Chili Peppers and all that. I feel like that's in there too, and the Faith No More. And so I've been popping back, blasting Jane's Addiction, and just going, oh my God, what an amazing band and what amazing records that they made. And it just never ends, right? There's so many great stuff. And
never ends,
And then the early Chili Pepper albums before they became famous. You know, I love all that scene that we had at the time. And when I hear like, you know, why don't stand up for yourself? I'm like, oh yeah, that could almost be like a Chili Pepper track, you know, in a way where the bass is the loudest. That's, you know, but I was a million miles away from that when, you know, working on the track. But that other people picked up on that just made me go, oh, that's so awesome and so great. So I've been going back and playing some of the old Chili stuff and going, wow, what a great psychedelic progressive art band, right? But we don't necessarily think of them that way, but that's totally what they are.
Because the new stuff, I call them the mild peppers.
That's true.
I actually reviewed their last album for the channel, and some people got mad because I put like on the thumbnail like the mild chili, and they're like, "How dare you? This album is funky." I'm like, "No, it's not. It's a snooze fest." I'm like, "There's no funkiness to it. I'm sorry." I'm like,
Well, I guess just Fleet's getting older.
Yeah. What do you do? And you know, they did it hard. Those early records did it hard.
Yes.
But I do feel like the crisis has that a little bit of that. Yeah, a little bit of that Chili's sticking in. You know,
old
like
stuff,
the
because,
were a little. Yeah. And same with Jane's Addiction. Like they have so many sour notes. I love it. They have so many notes that are wrong in their music, but that's what makes them Jane's Addiction. If you fixed all those notes, it would not be the band at all. And that's what I love about this record. There's so many wrong notes, and we just said, "Fuck you." They're staying in there.
just don't be like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and just write songs about being from New York. Like this, all their songs are like how many fucking songs can they write about being from California?
I'm from California. I'm from
You
California.
are from California. Like
we get it.
Yeah, we get it.
We're from California. We're from California.
So people, if you want to listen to some psychedelic progressive rock, check out Sons of Venus album. It's already out digitally. You can stream it. You can buy it, whatever you wish to do.
There's a nice few music videos on YouTube. You can find
and there's music videos on YouTube. So go check them out. So guys, I want to thank you for taking some time of your night to chat with me about music. It's been fun. So people, until next time, this is Hector, the shield dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and good